What's happening, y'all?
Hey.
Welcome to the CRoM Con 16 pre-con kickoff show. I'm here with my co-host Will from the Creators Outlet.
Hey.
We got Randy Zimmerman.
Hey, everybody.
We got Publishing Pete Simeti.
How's it going?
Don Chin. And there may be a couple other people popping in, but right now, look, check this out, guys. I brought people together from the 80s, from the 90s that have gotten into, that stuck with the indie, that stayed indie, that stayed true to not bowing way back then. They didn't like the way that Diamond was treating them, or whatever. And we're going to delve into some of that tonight. And we're going to talk about why these guys did what they did, the journey that got them to where they are today, which is all of them are pretty much, one is getting ready to pop, and the other two are popping. So, you know, I had to throw popping in there because we got to talk about Piper too. And we also have from Asylum Press.
Hey,
Frank.
Forte.
What's up, guys? How are you?
Hey, Frankie.
Hey.
Good.
Hey, Frank.
So I want everybody
Hey,
to go. How I want to start this is I want to go around. I want everybody to tell me the first thing that you published, what year it was, and under the name of what publishing company. And then once we get everybody introduced and we know where everybody began, then we're going to go into a little bit of the journeys that got you to where you're at now. So, Randy.
Yes. Long time alternative and independent publisher, Aero Comics, freelanced for a lot of the other independent comic companies. First thing I had published was a small short story in Dennis Messinger's Just Imagine Comics and Stories. Had a Mike Vosberg cover, had Doug Rice, Tom Artis on the inside. Real proud to be included into that. Then I got printed in the back of Journey, number 11 and 13 by Aardvark Vanaheim Press by William Mesner Loebs. Saw my stuff at a show and said, I gotta print your stuff. The first full book I had done was with Aero Comics, and that's Tales from the Aniverse, number 1. That was back in 1985. No, it really doesn't feel that long ago. But since then, like I tell everybody, once you get something published and you get it in your hands, you kind of get that feeling right at that point, whether or not you're going to be in this for the rest of your life or if it's worth it. And for me, it was always worth it. So I always stayed independent, always did whatever I could for a long time, freelanced all over the place. When I got fed up with Aero Comics, we brought back a couple more times. And then when I got fed up with Diamond, for 10 years, I sat and did my own newspaper locally that had comic strips and comic stories in it. That was advertiser supported. We gave it away, moved 10,000 copies in my little county alone, built up a nice readership. And then I am just 2 miles south of the safe water line in Flint. And Flint hit their water crisis. And forgive the pun, but the advertising dollars literally dried up, especially the mom and pop businesses. And it was hard to keep the paper going. So I stopped doing that. And about that time, Varian was telling me about what was going on YouTube, and I was looking at crowdfunding. So decided to get back into that. Now I'm back in it again, doing Aero Comics 4.0, bringing that out. Just got the first set of books literally off of the truck yesterday, and looking forward to offering that. Varian has started his own distribution company that we're going to be offering the books through him on. So that's my story in a short. That's my, yeah. That's the clip notes of my story. There we go. Yep.
Don, where did you begin? Where did you begin, brother? Where did it start?
I'm sorry, you said Don, right?
Yeah, I said Don.
Okay. Gosh, the first thing that I ever published was back in 1979. I was in high school, and my friends and I were big fans of Heavy Metal magazine, and we loved sci-fi and stuff. But you know, back when you're in high school, you kind of have this I think unrealistic opinion of how good your stuff is compared to how it really is. So we would be submitting our stuff into these
There's people that are
professional
50 years
companies.
old that have that attitude. Don, it's not just high school.
So anyways, we were sending our stuff into these publications like Marvel, Heavy Metal, thinking we were good enough to do their magazines, and then we would get rejection letters. So we just thought, the heck with this, we're just going to publish our own publication, which is called Overload, and you can still find it online. We did like 5 issues. The last few issues had national distribution through Bud Plant. He used to be a distributor over here in the West Coast, but it was an anthology. It was What If Mad Magazine kind of mixed with heavy metal. So it was kind of a humor anthology, and the closest thing I could say is what Pete's doing with. It came out on a Wednesday, but it was more warped and a little, it had some language and stuff. So we did 5 issues of that, and I got my feet wet, and I kind of met a lot of people through the convention circuit, people like Sam Keith, the publishers at Eclipse Comics, different people. But my actual first published work that I got paid for was with Cracked magazine, which was kind of a Mad magazine knockoff. And, they had like John Severin was one of the main artists on that. So like in 1984, my very first comic book work was in like Cracked number 200. And I did a few issues of Cracked, but I always wanted to write the movie parodies, but those were already like, they had a set team for those. So unfortunately I didn't stay with Cracked, but then the Hamsters kind of came along, and that was what kind of catapulted me into working in the independent realm. So that's kind of my story of what I was, published in first, and then what I actually got paid for. And, the Hamsters is kind of its own story. It did really well. And, so that's about it. Hey, Ginge.
Ahoy.
Pete, give us your rundown, brother, and give it to us the way you like.
Well, mine's nowhere near as storied as Randy's and Don's. Mine's pretty simple. I for the life of me don't remember what the heck I got published first. I did some color work or whatever. I can't even remember. Man. And Randy's talking about 85, he got stuff published. I'm like, I was born in 84.
There you go.
Oh, God.
So I said it in a low tone. It's like,
So, yeah, and more power to you.
it
So
doesn't feel
my
that
first-
long ago. That's for sure.
My first thing that it doesn't feel that long ago either, from when I was a baby. Oh, I agree with you. So it's just like that. The first thing that I published via Alterna, which was it was meant to just be a self-publishing label, for myself, to be redundant. It was this awful book. I feel bad for anyone who actually enjoyed it. But to me, it's looking back, it's so bad. It's this book Spectrum. It's actually the first issues over there. It's significant and historic because of that, but oh man, it's horrible. Just really, really bad. I was like 20 or something when I made it, and whatever. I put it out in like 2005, something along those lines, and did 2 issues of it, and it taught me a lot. It taught me what I didn't like doing in comics. It taught me what I did like doing in comics, and then for some reason, it gave a legitimacy, I guess, to the name Alterna Comics. And I came up with that just because of the fact that I didn't want to put anything that was just like Simeti Publishing or whatever it was. So Alterna Comics, I wanted to be an alternative. It sounded like, okay, that's a good word. And I didn't know about any longevity behind it. I didn't have a game plan for, years and years down the road. I figured within, 5 years or so, I would learn a lot. I would get my own stuff out, and then I would move on to just doing whatever else at the time. I didn't really want to work for the big publishers. I believe it or not, I wanted to get involved with Wizard magazine when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So, and then by the time I became old enough to work in doing anything, Wizard was not really a thing anymore. So I put up my own book through my own label, and then it got more people submitting stuff. And for 6 months, I was like, no, this is not a publishing company. I'm barely a creator, let alone a publisher. Don't do this to yourself. So I started getting so many people though reaching out that were very talented. They were way more talented than I was. And they all had very similar stories. It was about the fact that they were struggling to get published. They were struggling to get out there because they just didn't know the right people. It had nothing to even do with their quality of work or anything like that. They just didn't know. They didn't have connections. So I thought, okay, well, maybe we can do something and I can start small. And it's just printing books. It's just getting stuff out there. We'll do print on demand, why not? And so first couple of people, it was growing pains for the first 2 years. We didn't have distribution and anything like that, but did print on demand, did shows, did signings at shops that would have us, which was very few, but God bless them, the ones that did. And we just kept growing from there. And then now here we are 15 years later. And, I just, every single day, I'm just like, wow, time flies, but it's crazy to think about it. When you guys ask me stuff like this, cause I get asked it every now and then about how I got started. And I say this a lot. I'm the last person on earth that'll ever say, no, you absolutely need to go through a publishing company to get your book made. Right. I'd be a hypocrite if I said that. I didn't do that. I put my stuff out there. Things grew the way that they did. But, if you're willing to work hard, put in the time, put in the effort, and you love comics enough, you could do it. Anybody could do this. So anyone that's out there that's thinking, I got to go a certain path, I got to do it a certain way, absolutely not. There's a million paths you could take. And 15 years later, I'm a tiny bit wiser. Not too much, just a little bit. And I tried to not make the same mistakes twice, and that's all that I think any of us could hope for. But I'm just grateful to be here.
I hear you. So Frank, first thing you ever had published, bro, what year was it?
It was like early 80s, I think. I submitted to, again, it was the Aardvark Vanheim Cerebus Biweekly. They had a one-pager thing in the back. I submitted once, I got rejected, and so then I submitted another story that showed how I was pissed off at getting the rejection letter, and I became this violent guy who was going to take out a knife, put on a Cerebus mask, and go and kill Dave Sim for rejecting me. And that's the one that got published. He published that. And I got $50 for it too. I was like, holy shit, I'm getting paid. So that was like the first thing that got published. And then I submitted. I was trying to get into Marvel and DC, and I kept getting rejected. Went up to a con in Albany and met the Cry for Dawn guys, Joe Monks and Joe Linsner, and they were doing Cry for Dawn. And I was like, wow, you guys, this is great. I love horror. I love anthologies. Who's the publisher? They're like, well, we're the publisher. I'm like, wow, you could do that. What do you mean? It's self-publishing? Like, how do you do that? And they were like, well, you just, you send your book to a distributor. I'm like, distributor? Like, what's a distributor? A comic book distributor? I had no idea what it was. So they were like, yeah, you send your book to the distributor. They get orders from the store, and then you ship them and print them, and then you get paid. I'm like, holy shit, this is great. I don't have to get rejected anymore. I'll just do my own stuff. And at the time, there was Diamond, Capital City, Heroes World, Styx. There was like 5 or 6 distributors. You could get really good orders. You get like 30, 40,000 just for a black and white book that nobody knew who you were. So that's From Beyond. We did From Beyond. It was me, Al Columbia, Scott DeAngelis, and Mike Bliss. And we just put together a horror anthology. And we submitted it. I mean, just not a cover, no interior art. And we started getting orders. And that was the first thing I published. I was like 19. And I was like, why get rejected if you could just do it yourself, right? So then I, worked for Cry for Dawn. I had a couple stories in there. Then I met Hart Fisher, Boneyard Press. I don't know if he's still coming tonight or not. Or Hart D. Fisher. Worked with him a lot, in the 90s, part of the black and white boom. And then started Asylum Press in 99 and just started publishing really my own stuff, and worked with Robert Ryan from Girls and Corpses. And just like, it was kind of a self-publisher thing. And then I, published other people like Steve Mannion's Fearless Dawn, and a couple of anthologies, and but it was tough. Like I wouldn't say it was a moneymaker or profitable. So it comics. If you don't, like, we did a lot of anthologies, which I think is tough. And if you don't have a staple character like, either Dawn or Lady Death or something like that, or like what Zenoscope has, I think it's tough. So we're coming back. We're trying to do more character-based stuff and miniseries and graphic novels. But that's pretty much how it started. Just kind of like you guys. I just started self-publishing. And that was it.
And that's kind of why you guys are all here, because that's what everybody wants to do now. They want to get their Kickstarter out there. They want to get with somebody who won't steal their IP to publish it or whatever. I mean, I look at you guys, okay? I seen Parody Press. Parody Press been around for a long time. Long time. Don's been having fun. Alternative been around for quite a while. Pete's been having fun. I know Frank's been having fun. He's all over the place. Heavy Metal, Bob's Burgers, Rick and Morty. You can't not be having fun.
Solar Opposites, not Rick and Morty, but yeah.
I mean, but you can't not be having fun to be involved in that many different types.
Yeah, it's fun. Sure. Yeah. No, it's fun.
Randy's having a whole new reborn life. He's just bubbling over there with what's happening with Arrow 4.0.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, I just want to get some guys out here that can say, hey, the path is out there. You can't give up on it. You got to roll with it. And they all have their own success story. Now, they've also all had the big bump in the road that sent them to doing their own thing.
Oh, only one?
Well, I know Randy's is basically named Diamond.
Well, the comic history is amazing in that anytime somebody hits a bump like that or gets screwed really bad, somebody turns around and figures out a way to get around it eventually. And this art form is always going to survive in one form or another. You just have to stay up on it and stay with it, and then make it make you money, or at least make you a living. If you want to stay in this business, that's the thing.
Yeah, I think that's the trick. And like, Pete, Alterna's been around for quite some time now, and you definitely publish a lot of titles. Do you do a lot of, like, how do you get the word out mainly? Were you doing a lot of conventions before COVID, and do you do like comic book store tours?
Yes and no. I wouldn't really say we did a lot. I would say that personally, I didn't do a lot. I did a lot maybe early on, but I don't know what a lot is. Maybe to me, I did 5 to 10 a year with conventions, and then I did maybe one signing a month.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot, okay. Definitely. I mean, that's one a month.
A lot to me is like every weekend I'm somewhere.
Yeah, that's hard to do though. That's even more than me, because I only do like 3 or 4 conventions a year and maybe 1 store signing a year. So you're definitely getting out there more, and that's probably helping you, right? Like you get.
Yeah, it definitely
did
help.
The bump in the Diamond orders.
Well, we're not with Diamond anymore.
Oh, you're not?
No,
well,
we're not. We left Diamond in April of last year.
So,
but we were with Diamond from 2008 to last year.
But you were,
so, 12 years.
You were going to start your own distribution company too. What was going on with that?
Yeah, well, that's turned into just an ever-evolving thing. It's going to be something else. I'm not going to necessarily talk about it now because I gave too much away that was and it's right before COVID.
Right,
and then it was all these things that occurred and just a million different bumps in the road just with that alone. But it's gonna still be around. I'm hoping for next year we can launch it in the way it's going to be. But in terms of just distribution wise, we had several distributors over the years, and we had like even digital comicsology and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, we do
but
that
now we've got none. We self distribute everything. So even the digital books, even the graphic novels, we don't really do graphic novels anymore. We're doing something that no other publisher really is doing, and we're kind of been rebranding ourselves mostly as a republisher. And what I mean by that is that I'm encouraging, because Alternatives create our own. So if the creator, wants to make a sticker, or they want to make a video game or a movie or whatever it may be, it's 100% their IP. We just make money off of the books. It's just a percentage, and not a very large percentage. I want the creators to get most that they could. So I'm encouraging people to go to crowdfunding first to create a premiere version of their book, and they can have the alternative release through there first as well. Backers would get things first, and then it would be released later on through alternaaccess.com, which is what our store name is. So there's no other publisher that's encouraging anything like that. There's no other publisher that's really doing stuff like that. And to me, the only reason that I think that is, at least for us, the way forward is because the distribution, retail, publishing landscape in general, I found that we were relying way too much, my whole business, my whole livelihood, and then also the creators, therefore, too. We're relying upon different facets of an industry that, to be blunt, largely had its head up its ass. Just between all, I'm relying upon retailers to sell books and to get customers in, and most of them don't know how to do that. I'm relying upon a distributor to grow the footprint of getting books into new stores, new places, more places, and they don't do that. I'm relying upon publishers to be ambassadors for this industry, to get more people into the shops to see their books. Most publishers aren't doing that, and many of them also have creators that, quite frankly, to be very nice about it, aren't really that friendly. So along the way, it just becomes, wow, I'm putting my entire life in other people's hands. I can't keep doing that. And so that's why when everything happened with Diamond and the result of COVID last year, and I said, you know what, we've already got a system in place. We set it up because Diamond was costing us reorders. They cost us 16,000 reorders in a year and a half. They just didn't want to fulfill them. They didn't want to let us fulfill them.
That's awful.
So I said, all right, we'll sell direct. I don't want people getting ripped off on eBay or whatever it is, or they can't get the books. We have the books here. We'll sell direct. We'll have a site. So that kept growing and growing and growing. And eventually we started making more money selling direct than we did through Diamond. Coupled with crowdfunders, forget it. We destroyed what we sold through to Diamond. It didn't make any sense. And I found that I was begging retailers, please take our book. I'll give you 60% off. Just please take it. Why would I be doing that time and time again? And it would just be treated as like I'm being charitable to the retailer. And that's why I'm giving them a discount. Not that I'm saying here's a discount in exchange for the fact that, okay, but you're supposed to get customers in the store, right? It's an exchange so we can volumize our sales and then we can make money and justify that discount. Not so we can just flat out lose money constantly over and over and over again until we go bankrupt like hundreds of other publishers before us. Yeah. So now we've taken things into our own hands. It's been great. And if it wasn't for this darn COVID, and I'm sure a lot of people can say the same thing, things would be a lot better right now. But I'm just so grateful for the fact that we have the readers that we have, the creators that we have. And the reason we're here and still alive and kicking is because of them and their support, and they've stood by us. So God bless them. And seriously, it's been a crazy road, but man, oh man, like looking back, it's taught me so much about why am I relying so much on all these different facets to literally steer my life, control my life. You can only do so much, obviously, but you want to try to minimize as much as that as you can. And just all these different things that have occurred, I'm grateful for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's for me personally, Pete, if it wasn't for COVID, I'd probably never met any of you guys. I never got into promoting everybody the way that I do. It was something that I came into doing because COVID shut all the tables down last year. I had a group of friends. My Facebook group was a bunch of people that suddenly didn't have an income. And it's like, okay, I'm going to do this online thing. I had the group. I had a little group. Nope. It was a good foundation to begin a platform on. And now, look, we're 16 months into doing the con, the monthly con. We've done it actually 17 months because one of them wasn't numbered. It was called CRoM Con Europe. and I brought all the UK boys over. Or actually, I came out I went out there at 7 o'clock in the morning our time, and prime timed their stuff
Wow.
in UK all day, and we did a con for them. It's like, I love doing this, but if it hadn't have been for COVID, there'd have never been a reason for me to do this.
Yeah, right.
And, it just, the reason would have never popped up. I'd still have this little comic group going, hey, you guys, look what I got today, which I still do that, but now I have a show about it called Comic Related Unboxings. But I'd never met any of you guys. Maybe Randy. I might have met Randy because I think there was some crossover between their
You probably walked by me at a con and said, who's that weirdo? He's got papers on his table. Yeah.
No, I think there was a couple people that were associated with you guys' YouTube channel that were part of Madness way back at the beginning. And that's how I even encountered you guys. And it's just grown. Eventually I met Don, and eventually I met Pete, and eventually I met Frank, and it's like it just keeps blowing up. But all I want to do is promote you guys. And promoting the comics is great, but everybody needs to know about the people behind the scenes that are really trying to make the indie platform become stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Pete brings other people in and tries to help them get out there. Randy brings other people in and tries to get their books out there in the stores. These guys are doing things that people really aren't doing enough of in the indie community. Mm-hmm. There's a couple little clicks, but when I see somebody that's serious about it, and they're offering somebody, you can bring your IP over them. We're not going to try and take it from you. We're going to try and help you make money.
Mm-hmm. That's
the difference. Okay. I hate seeing people sign over their work.
Yeah.
I hate seeing that.
But what I think is so strange too, I guess I could relate this story to you guys by saying, when I was a kid, my parents literally thought Stan Lee created every comic book ever. And that was because of the fact that he was kind of the only person you really saw.
Yeah.
They thought that he created Batman, everything at DC, Marvel, whatever it was, he makes all the comic books. And obviously that's not the case. But I'm still wondering to this day, the fact that he was just so there, why no one else thought, I should do something like that too. I should be out and about also. I should also talk about this stuff. And obviously there's people that are very busy making comics in the comic industry, but there's also people that are really not that busy making comics in the comic industry. Yeah. And they can be the ambassadors. They could be the people that are vocal about it. They could be the people that talk about it and extend over and tell people. Everyone's turning around and saying, oh, well, the movies should do this and the actors should do that and this and that. Or what. That promotes the movies. That promotes acting. Where's the people within the comic industry promoting the comics? And if anything, I'm seeing tons of indie creators being amazing ambassadors for comics, but very few in the mainstream being ambassadors for comics. So everyone that's indie out there, I take off my hat, but it's like a mutant freak accident under there. But my hat tips to you.
I always said that they should do a comic book offense fund where they go out and they hire big people, recognizable people to do like a 30-second spot telling them that they wouldn't be where they were or where they are today if they hadn't picked up comics. Like Stephen King talking about the old EC books and Spielberg talking about the comics he read when he was a kid. That kind of stuff, just to front the art form, because it would help everybody.
Even if you're going to, some of the actors that play the parts, some of them actually did read the comics when they were kids. Some of them. those ones should also be spokespersons
Yeah.
for the comics. Not
Well,
just-
that's great of them, but I'm talking even just about people in the comic industry itself. You know, I'm not expecting people in the comic industry to boast about, hey, I love movies. I watched movies when I was a kid, or I watched, I listen to music. Everyone, you guys should go pick up stuff. You know, at your local. Are there local music stores? I don't know, but you should go listen to. You should go listen to this band and that type of music or whatever. But where are the elder statesmen? Where are the people in comics that could be that ambassador for comics? It's very strange. I see so much of it in the indies. I see so little of it in the mainstream. In the mainstream,
sorry to interrupt you, but
I was going to say it's this corporate coldness throughout.
Yeah, well, that's because in the mainstream they chase them off once they decide they're too old.
Yeah, it's
These
like
big,
there ain't no older
there's so many
statesmen
great
left over
workhorses
there,
out there looking for work that could do a monthly book that don't, because these editors think that they have to have young blood in order to appeal to the kids.
Yep, 100%.
You look there's not a lot of elder statesmen left over there in the big two.
No, they're trying to cancel them left and right, like Mr. Frank Miller.
So you're not going to get them to come out and talk good about the industry unless they come over to the indie side of it and start experiencing the love again. Then they'll talk about the industry again,
And I think there's a little bit of that level of, well, why should I really do that? Because they're not really my characters, And then when you're in the indies, you're like, oh, it's my character, it's my thing. You got some skin in the game, so you get more excited about your stuff and you want to talk about it. So I think that's also part of it too.
Yep.
But it's very, get the corporate people. I'm sure there's some corporate person in both companies or several of the companies that are major that could talk and that could have some presence and that could, just get people enthused. Be the Billy Mays of your company or whatever it may be, minus the tragic ending. Yeah. It's somebody that gets people hyped up about the comics. It's very strange. It feels like there's so much of it that's either like this passive enthusiasm where you're kind of too cool for school, or it's this level of kind of inauthentic, insincere enthusiasm that comes across very grimy.
The thing is that the comics have to make more money for the corporate before they'll stand up and look at them as being viable at this point. The two corporate heads have just brushed off comics as being just a necessary evil in order to try to give an idea out to the kiddies that they could turn into a movie or sell as underoos. That's all they're looking at it now, as opposed to being a pure art form or an entertainment medium. Yep. They've given up on it. It's too little money for them. That's why they let the insane people run the asylum. You're getting all these low-level, horrible books from the mainstream because the corporate's not there going, you need to make us money. It's just like, oh, you want to do this to Captain America? Sure, go ahead. Let's watch the fanboys all get mad. That'll be fun. That's the way they look at it. Kevin Smith even admitted as much. Yeah, I screwed up, He-Man. I got paid. I don't care. They want you to get mad. That's how they know that you care.
Well, it's also a lot of clicks, and clicks make money whether the book or the movie sells or not. Clicks make money. Clicks make lots of money. Every time they put out a stupid article, somebody click, you're making somebody money. I quit making jack money. I don't click on none of that crap. I don't make Mark no money either.
It's so sad because it's all short-term game at the expense of the long-term gain. Yep. It's just so sad. But I mean, it is true that is kind of what's going on right now. But it's great conversely to see the side of how many people do care so much about the art form, about storytelling, about the things that they miss, about the stuff that they wish it would be a certain way. And it's great to see when fans and readers become creators because they go, you know what, I have ideas for stories. I don't necessarily have to wait till I get hired by someone or whatever it is. I could just make something. Yep. And I love to see that. That's great.
And look at all of the quality product that's coming out in the alternative and independent market right now. There's so much great stuff out there you can't keep track of.
Can't
That's
afford
why-
it all.
That's why we do. Yeah, that too. That's why we do
Oh,
podcasts
yeah.
like this
Oh,
to
shit.
pull attention to it. Yeah.
You can afford Pete's books. That's
Yeah, well, no,
Yeah.
but see what I'm saying. Even Pete's books, though, he encourages them to go out and Kickstarter first, or crowdfund first. So if you want that first printing, if you're the collector guy, and you want
yeah,
that first
that's true.
printing of it or whatever, you still got to succumb to the big one.
Yeah.
You know? So you got to be real picky and choosy. You got which one of these might really have some possibility of being worth some money down the road, and you got to, when you're broke like I am, you got to be picky and just get the ones that you're pretty sure got a possibility. This guy's a chance. This story is,
Yeah.
and then you go over to Pete's house and you go 35 books for $45 or something like that. That's reading material. That's the difference. The ones you buy to read, you can go. There's places you can go and get a whole bunch of good books.
And I tell the creators too that the crowdfunding is where they're going to find that's where they can make most of their money. Having it republished, re-released through Alterna, that's where you're going to get more readers, and then more readers and more people affiliated and acclimated to what it is that you're creating become more people that back your crowdfunder on the next go around, and so on and so forth. And as long as you're a creator and you treat it right, everybody right, you treat your business right as well, and you keep on looking to grow, and you have that good mindset of customer service as well, which is like this weird 4-letter word nowadays, but it's so silly. But as long as you have that at your heart and you keep on doing those things, it's a wonderful system. And especially by the time you're now 5 to 10 years deep with all of that, project after project, you're going to find a lot of people in indie comics have a day job and they make comics too. You're going to find after doing it that way, you're going to not have that day job anymore. And in fact, you're going to start turning down offers to work on other books. That's how busy and successful you'll become.
Yep.
That's the work ethic. That's the path I was talking about. I knew Pete was going to tell me. Here's the path to being where you want to be. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what platform you are kicking off on. It doesn't matter. I mean, utilize every possible way you can to increase your fan base.
Not just that, but create new ways.
Yeah.
And go out there and be entrepreneurial about it, because you never know what you're going to hook into. You got to go out there and try it in order for it to know if it's going to succeed or fail. That's the key. And we're, as alternative and independent producers right now, we're in that sweet spot where we can really go out there and be creative. We don't have to stay in the same format and do the same things that everybody's done over and over and over again. Now is the time to play, explore, and grow as hard and as fast as we can. The corporates aren't looking at what the direct market is doing. They're telling their people to use them and abuse them as much as they can. That's why you've got the variants and all of this crap going on. They're not getting any new readers. The retailers are scraping by the skin of their teeth, hoping that they can pay their bill the next month.
Yep.
And it's up to us to go out there and maybe it's not through the retailers. Maybe it's there. If you go back and look at where comics have been, they used to wrap bubble gum in comics.
Yeah.
And comics have always, there's a great quote out there by Alan Moore that comics were always made for the middle class. They were made to be cheap. They were made to be disposable at times. That's why they're so collectible now, is because folks never gave it the consideration that it deserved, especially with the entertainment value. And because that entertainment value is there, the money value comes afterwards. The collector's value comes later.
Hey, so Don, what do you do to get your books out? Are you distributed by Diamond, or do you just sell direct to creators?
Direct to consumer, Frank?
Yeah, to consumer, right?
Yeah, I'm not in with any distributors. Back in the 90s when we were doing Parody Press, hey Ryan, in Entity Comics, which was kind of our superhero science fiction imprint.
Right.
We had it. You guys remember there used to be Heroes World, Capital City, a couple up in Canada. I mean, we had like probably a dozen.
At one time, there was 27 when Arrow first started up. There were
Yeah, it was
27
good.
different distributors.
It was good. And, you know, when the big crunch happened at the end of the 90s, a lot of our distributors bid it, and they left us without paying their
Yes.
bills.
Right,
Yep.
right.
And my wife and I, we actually had to declare bankruptcy because we couldn't pay our printing bills, and we went out of business. So that's kind of what forced me. It wasn't Diamond, but it was, you know, these kind of a domino effect with smaller companies. And
Right. Right.
so we just kind of packed up shop, and we were doing everything out of our house. We had an image setter. We were doing our own 4-color separations to save money. You know, back in the 80s and 90s, guys, you guys remember storing your digital files on a SideQuest disk, you know, an 88 megabyte SideQuest disk. And
Yeah, right.
so, you know, all that
Don't
stuff.
get me started.
We were trying to save money because every time we would send off our colored books for color separations, that would be like a $2,000 bill. And then my wife would say, you know, we could buy our own image setter for like $100,000, do it ourselves, and pay for itself in a year, just because we had so much volume. But you know, my experience with Diamond is, you know, over time I could just kind of see they weren't really respecting the smaller press people. And we tried again, like in 2007, to do Parody Press, and the numbers just weren't there. They weren't viable for me to say, you know, let me quit my day job and jump into comics again. Mm-hmm. But it was definitely a fun ride while it lasted. But you know, right now, Frank, I'm basically just, you know, my X Farce was the very first crowdfund that I did, which we released in January. And then I think we fulfilled it in April. So I was new to this. I was just kind of sitting in the crowd watching guys stream, guys like Pete, Ethan, you know, Graham, and those guys just kind of, and I just saw, wow, these guys are really doing well just selling direct to consumer. So I thought, let's go ahead and try it. But I do really feel there is a distribution arm. If there was some kind of alternative, it would be so great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know if there is. Like, we're doing Diamond Books, and crowdfunding, and I mean, all the other alternative distributors that are out there are really small, like a fraction of what Diamond is. And we use some of them, and some of them are just people that sell locally to their stores right around their area. Like, maybe they'll only have like 10 or 15 stores. We'll deal with them, but it really doesn't amount to much. I mean, I just think Diamond, you can get the numbers up. Like, there are indies that do. I mean, if you could get the numbers up to 10,000, 15,000, you could make enough money to, you know, make a little profit if you can keep that going. If you're down to 2,000 or 3,000, you know, it's break even losing money kind of numbers. But you could get the books out there. I mean, there's a place for Diamond if you're an indie publisher and you can get the numbers up, which you can, believe it or not. You just have to do a little of the groundwork, posters, postcards, calling stores, letting them know about the book. I mean, believe it or not, stores want to hear from you. You know, if you're an indie publisher, they respond. So I mean, you can do it, but I admit it's not. You're not going to do, you know, 40, 50,000 right off the bat. In the 90s, you could do that. Nobody even knew who you were. You do 30,000. Faust was doing 100,000. That was an adults only X-rated book. I mean, it was crazy. You'd get reorders for 50,000. Like, hey, no, you know, it's just a nutty time. But it's not like that anymore. You know.
Pete, you were born too late, man.
Yeah, telling me.
Yeah, those were the days. I mean, just like Frank was saying. I mean, some of our books we were selling like 75,000, and it was pretty amazing.
75 of what kind of a book? Like
that was probably like Zen Intergalactic Ninja.
Oh, you were on that. Were you a creator on that book?
I was the editor and publisher for most of the 90s run.
Oh, I knew Steve Stern. I colored one of those for Heavy Metal. They had a short story in Heavy Metal, and I colored it.
Yeah, Steve's a good guy.
So you published Zen. So yeah, that was a pretty popular book. You guys did like 75,000, huh?
Yeah, we'd had some chromium covers.
Wow.
Jay Lee did a cover for us, and it was like he did it. He was an indie guy out of the where was it?
Jay Lee
He's
was?
out of Maine. He was out of Maine, and him and Dan Cody created Zen. So they did about,
right.
20 issues themselves. And then the guy that found the Ninja Turtles, Mark Friedman, discovered Zen, and he said, I think this might be a good property for me to try to do the whole Ninja Turtles thing. So we took a chance. It was an Archie comic book for a while, so it was kind of sanitized and very all ages. And then at about in the 90s, Steve said, I really kind of like the way Image is going with McFarlane, and I kind of want a McFarlane-esque Zen and make him more sexy. So we kind of took Zen from the Archie version and made him more of a 90s Marvel Image type. And we were just always crossing our fingers that it would hit the trifecta, that you'd get the Zen movie, cartoon, and toy line. But unfortunately, he got the toys, and they did a really cool Nintendo game for Zen.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and they did toys. Never got the Saturday morning deal. Never got the movie. But we were always thinking in the back of our mind, if we could ride that Ninja Turtle wave again with another property, then it did well.
Did it all collapse? I mean, after Diamond bought like Capital City, late 90s, that's when you felt it was just impossible to get good numbers.
Yeah, I think everybody was speculating. All the stores were over ordering, and so we saw a lot of stores that were kind of biting the dust. And
right. Yeah, it wasn't really 75,000 people that were reading it, so you didn't really know what your fan base was. Yep. Did you ever look to turn to subscribers? Like, was the subscriber thing ever a form of income for you?
We tried that, but really wasn't worth the effort to do that.
Yeah, right.
But I like Pete's model.
I got another round the table question. I want to know the thing that you've worked on that was the most fun, where you just flat out had the most fun. And there's got to be that one standout thing that you all know when you look back on it, you're like, yeah, that shit rocked. In Randy's case, it might be what's coming up, but
there's a couple of projects coming up I'm really excited over. But seriously, when I got out of away from the direct market, I was doing a lot of commercial work, just anything that I could do. Well, when I was in the direct market for a long time, I was freelancing for anybody anyway, an ink job here, lettering job there, penciling job here. But when I started that newspaper, that comics paper, back in 2009 is when we started. We ran that for 100 issues, and at the time it was a risk because nobody had ever done it. I had done work for a political paper that was local and was pretty much doing their comic section there, and I kept thinking, man, if I could do a whole paper with these comics in it, people would read it. I know they'd read it. And when we started doing that, we went around to the mom and pop businesses and got enough advertising support to cover the print run. It's just a newspaper, folded, no staples, no slick cover. And we were like 16 cents, maybe 18 cents a unit. Well, I was distributing it myself all around the county within like a 50-mile radius of my house, moving 10,000 copies and getting back maybe 200 or 300. So we knew it was getting read, which was really cool. And we had a little bit of syndicated strips, but I tried to put a comic story in every paper. I went around and found a lot of the local independent guys like Matt Fitzel, who does Cynical Man, who was really accessible. Emily Zelasco, who did a really slice of life. It was called Piece of Cake comic strip, and Kurt Kolka, who had a superhero strip that was a little religious based called the Cardinal. That was
I remember him.
That was a regular adventure strip. We printed all of those in the paper, and we built up a phenomenal following every month. And that I can't express that format enough. And I jump back into it in a heartbeat, except for the area that I'm in now, especially now with the last year with the bug happening. We are super economically depressed, and there's no way we're going to get the advertising dollars out there in order to cover the cost. But I had little red boxes all over the county where you just walk up, take a paper once a month. had a distributor that was distributing all of the free publications around. There aren't that many anymore, but like Natural Awakenings and Women's World and that kind of Real Estate Digest, that kind of stuff would circulate the comic paper as well. It was just such a great product, and I very quickly learned that people read comics. People want to be entertained, and they will be entertained by comics. Most people, there are a few people out there who don't have a sense of humor that wouldn't take to it and or just go comics and just dismiss you. But after a while, we had such a huge following. I put my commercial art business as an ad in every issue, of course, with my phone number. Silly me. And I was starting to get calls from people demanding to know where the paper was. If I was a day late, I'd pick up the phone and they'd go, "Where's the paper?" I'm like, "Well, who is this? Never mind who I am. Where's the paper?" Seriously, and that reinstilled my love for this art form so quickly, because people loved it, were passionate about it. They had their own favorite things. I carried like Leo from Mark Tatuli. I also carried Flash Gordon and Prince Valiant, which was some of the first exposure here in the area, especially for Flash Gordon. It had never been printed around here. I always had a wish list of strips that I would love to carry, but and then I'd put my own stuff and my friend's stuff in it, as much quality stuff as we could get our hands on. And it was just such an enjoyable experience. That to me was the high point for me.
Right.
What was it called?
It was called Flint Comics.
Awesome.
And I should dig up. I got copies back behind the curtain. That's why I have the curtain up, or the sheet up there, because there's so much clutter back there.
Randy, you can send me an old copy of one of those anytime you want.
I'll see you in Grand Rapids, buddy, and
Yeah,
I'll give you a bunch of copies. But I love that format. I almost got really close a couple of times with other people in other areas, because our motto was, if we could sell it in Flint, it'll go anywhere. And we kept that paper alive for 100 issues. I stopped I went bi-monthly for the last year.
Water.
Yeah, as long as well, see, we ran entire pages.
What do you think they used for ink?
There you go. We ran entire pages with editorial cartoons about the water situation. It was hilarious. We'd get people upset. There were a couple of, and of course you can't please everybody all the time. There were a couple of times we hit angry mom mobs about different things. I carried the James Bond adventure strip in there. And if you know the James Bond adventure strip at all, it's really pretty. But every once in a while, well, as often as they could, the women went topless.
Yes. Moneypenny.
Yeah.
Moneypenny. What are you doing?
I had to sit there and very, very quietly draw or re-emphasize G strings and throw little brassieres on. In order to keep the moms happy, I let one picture go that was literally the size of a postage stamp of an exotic dancer who had pasties on, and one mom went crazy because she thought they were areolas. And I'm like, no, those are pasties. And she trolled me on Facebook for weeks after that. You print pornography for my son, my 10-year-old, blah blah blah. I'm like, no.
And he loved every panel of it.
He did.
Yes,
he did. I know he did. He loved that paper.
John,
what a great experience. Anyway,
what was my most fun thing? I'm thinking back. I would probably have to say I love the hamsters. And back in the 80s, 86 is when the first issue came out. And it just really caught everybody by surprise that it sold so well. It was only supposed to be a one-shot, but they sold like 53,000 copies, and then they went back to print on a second. But Eclipse came back to me and they said, we'd like to make this a regular ongoing series. And so I was doing like 4 to 5 issues a year, but they said we'd like to do a 3D book with Ray Zone doing the 3D separations on it. And I was thinking, wow, that sounds really cool. And I think the very first one they did might have been like the 3D Three Stooges. And I saw it and I said, wow, this is going to be great. You get these glasses that are bound into the spine and you pop them out and you assemble these glasses. So they said, we'd like you to do a script for a Hamsters 3D #1. And I thought, okay, that sounds like fun. So I did this story, and I have to send this to you because it's the hamsters getting into professional wrestling.
Oh man, nice.
Like in a midget I know Pete's a big wrestling fan. So the
Awesome.
the hamsters are found by this promoter, and he gets to basically promote them as the next big thing in wrestling. And they're gonna fight these 7 dwarves guys that are like, this franchise. But then the franchise, the dwarves get fogged in. They can't make this fight, so the hamsters have to fight big-sized heroes. And so I did the script and I sent it in to them. And the artist at the time, I didn't know who was going to draw it, but it was actually Ty Templeton, who is a really, really good artist. He's worked for DC, and he's been an indie guy. You guys probably remember him from Stig's Inferno was a 80s book that he did. Mm-hmm. So Batman Adventures, I think he's drawn a lot of those. But so Ty did the artwork on that, and when it came back from the printer with the whole 3D thing, I was just like, this is so cool. So I have to say that book is probably the most near and dear to my heart that I had the most fun, not only writing, but when it comes back to you and it's in this, not black and white's great, or even in color when you get it back, there's always a thrill, but to actually have it pop out when you're reading it is just a whole new level of just cool, a cool experience.
I have the Ripoff Press Underground 3D book.
Nice.
It's like, I don't know, from the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. But that thing is in mint condition. I will not open that. I'll take it out to put it in a new bag. That's it, man. I won't. Yeah, it's a beautiful looking book. I ain't messing with it. I don't even care. I don't need to read it.
Being an underground, you can just imagine what they were 3Ding.
Oh, I know. Yeah. It's like, it's got to be fun. Pete, what was the most fun thing you've ever done in comics?
Oh, man. Probably, arguing with the Twitter mob. I mean, to be corny about it, as a publisher especially, it's like asking me to pick which kid's my favorite. I really love every single time.
It's not so much the favorite book that you did or whatever. The most fun you had.
That's what I mean, though. They're all fun. They're all fun.
Yeah. I mean,
what I love is an aspect of comic creation that's the most fun to me, and I go to town with the covers, with coming up with the layout of the different elements, the color scheme, the tagline, things like that. I love doing that. That just makes me feel like I'm a kid again and having a project to do. I love that the most out of anything that's going on at Alterna with the publishing aspect of things, at least for what I have to do. Other than that, I mean, for my own projects, I'm finally, for the first time in 13 years, making my own book again. I'm getting the ground off on that. Yeah. And it's going to be called King Cryptid. I just revealed the logo today, and people are into it. I'm glad that they're into it. It's going to be an adventure, horror, fantasy, sci-fi, a little bit of superhero stuff in it, and just everything in between. Just a real fun series, self-contained issues. Monster literally of the issue, pretty much every issue, and it's just going to be a story that's not just fun but has a lot of heart as well. And it's every single thing that I love about the comics that I grew up with and the storytelling involved. I'm going to be incorporating that into this series. Stuff that I look around and I'm like, man, comics are missing this and they're missing that, and there's not enough of that anymore. Every single thing like that I feel, it's going to be in that series. And that's going to be coming to Indiegogo first in spring 2022. And then the issues will be released later on through alternaaccess.com. Cool. But the first 4 issues we're going to take to Indiegogo, and it'll probably take maybe like 8 months or so. Hopefully things can normal out a little bit by that point to get those 4 issues done with the different artists. I'm going to be writing and lettering, and there's going to be different artists on each issue. And I'm going to be picking artists based on not only their skill, because they're going to be all great, but I want to make sure that they're the right fit for the right story. So if an artist that's, let's say I want to tell a werewolf story, which I do, I got one in there. I want to make sure it's an artist that could really draw the hell out of werewolves. Right. Or if it's an artist that it's maybe more of like an all age, because this is going to be kind of an old school all ages book. So it's not going to be for kids, but kids could absolutely read this and be okay with it. There's not strong language, there's not gore or sexual situations, that kind of a thing. There's romance instead of violence. There's action instead of horror, like too much intense horror. It's more about mystery and suspense. So kids and adults could still enjoy this. But if it's more of like a all ages kids oriented kind of issue, I'm going to make sure I get an artist that's kind of more animated and expressive with their art. So all these different kinds of things are going to be in this series, but I'm really looking forward to that. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. The past year or so has been like, I've been keeping that under wraps. People are like, where'd this come out of nowhere? You announced it like a couple weeks ago. I'm like, yeah, to you it came out of nowhere. To me, I've been doing all kinds of things for like a year. But I'm glad people looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And Frank, you've done a lot.
I have, I guess.
It's probably hard for you to say what you had the most fun doing, but I really want to know what you had the most fun doing, because you've done so many different types of things.
Yeah, I mean, I always have fun doing my own stuff more than working for the studios or the animation studios. I think just because it's mine. So I really enjoyed doing the Vampire Versus book in the 90s, because 90s was a hot time for doing black and white. It was a mature reader's book. It had nudity, violence, and sex, and everybody was buying into that. So I could just be as intense and horrid and crazy and extreme as I wanted to. And you had a big fan base, because you had a big fan base for Faust and Cry for Dawn, and I was kind of jumping on the bandwagon of those fans, and they were reading into my vampire book. But I also like doing Warlash in the 90s, because that was my first color book, or in the 2000s. And that's currently what I have on Indiegogo right now. If you want to go to Indiegogo Warlash Cold Metal Mayhem, there's 8 days to go. We're trying to do a few more one-shots. I'm really successful on Kickstarter, but I have a hard time on Indiegogo for whatever reason. But I think Warlash was fun because, again, there's Vampire Versus #1. Yep, there it is. 3rd printing, but still in mint condition.
Yes. And signed by Frank.
So yeah, that was a really fun book. But yeah, I think between Warlash and Vampire Versus, I had the most fun with, because they're characters that I created, I wrote, I drew I drew Vampire Versus, but Warlash, look at that, he's got the whole set. I love it.
I got everything.
I love it. Yep, nice, very cool. Yeah, it was fun to do horror, independent black and white in the 90s, and I think black and white is still pretty big. And the reason you did black and white in the 90s, I think, is it was so much cheaper to print. Now printing has come down where it's almost the same to print black and white as it is for color. There's not much difference, really, when you get into high numbers. But in the 90s, it was like you have to pay for color separations on every page. Now you don't get a color sep charge. It's just all digital. But back then, it was like everything needs to be color sepped. And you're like, you know what? Just black and white with a gray tone, You'd be sitting there with zipatones, and I would cut all those zipatones, like those original Vampire Versus pages, all zipatone. You'd sit there and cut that shit out, and it was great. It just reproduced awesome. I loved the line art shot of a nice black ink on white paper, and to see it and just to get it, and you'd go newsprint. You're like, I want to up it. I want to go a little thicker this time. And you get a nice thick ink and black paper, and you get that book, and you just be like, oh, I love this. And you knew it was going out into stores, and you'd go to conventions, and people were psyched to buy it. Mm-hmm. So I'm psyched to try to get out there and do more conventions and more signings. So hopefully we could get back to that, because I don't know. As much as I love doing, podcasts and all this stuff, but I still find it difficult. Like, it's not like being there in person at a convention where you're selling a physical book. It's still hard,
I mean, it's a lot different to get somebody to pull out their credit card and order something online than it is to get them to pull out their cash and hand it to you across the table. It's way harder because they're getting something right then. You see what I mean? Yeah. When it's about, okay, I'm gonna back this book, and 3 months later, 4 months later, I'm going to get it. That's a decision you have to make. But that's a lot harder to sell somebody on than standing across the table going, "Hey, you want to buy this?" You know, I mean, that credit, the whole online credit card thing. I mean, everybody's trying to find a good way to do it. You got your Etsy stores and all kinds of whatever. I mean, everybody's exploring every possibility. The Patreon, the Ko-fi, every possibility that they can.
And they can't push that hard enough. They need to go out in as many different directions as they can find, as many revenue streams as you can get your hands on.
Because look, what Pete, remember it wasn't like a month ago we were talking about not all comic fans Twitter, not all comic fans Facebook, not all comic fans watch YouTube. I mean, there's just small platforms in comparison to the amount of comic fans there are. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't pay attention to none of that shit, and they walk into a comic book store and they look and see what's on the shelves, and they talk to the guy across the counter. And that's their whole experience with buying comics. It doesn't have anything to do with this online stuff. Now, COVID shut down some stores and made it harder for people to go into stores, and some of this is building now. This has got some momentum, But the cons are going to open back up. The stores are going to go open back up, and the goal is still going to be on the store shelves where the majority of comic fans buy their books. I mean, it. You got Ethan. He gets a couple thousand people. But if Ethan was selling books through the big two, he'd be selling 40, 50,000 books, not a few thousand,
Probably.
You'd have a lot more people buying a book as opposed to people buying 5 books. One person buying 5 books. It's like, yeah, he's still printing a lot of books, but he's missing a big chunk of the actual comic fans who don't come out here online and look for books. Or if they do, all they know is eBay.
Yeah, I'd say yes and no. Only because of the fact that you're looking at the overall bigger pie and thinking that there's a slice in there for you, and it necessarily not so a lot of the time.
Right.
My experience has been, and also the experience I've seen other people have, is it's easier to make your own pie than to ask for the slice of someone else's pie.
That's what I'm saying. You got to hit every possible platform because there's going to be fans that don't do this. Or look, Pete doesn't Facebook. Pete does not Facebook.
I did, and I found that it's completely pointless.
And right about the time that
but some other people can have a different experience.
You left Facebook. I was just bringing you to the madness. I was like, "Come on in, Pete. Come on in." Pete's like, "I'm done with Facebook."
Left then. Jeez, boy.
Yeah, I know. I'm in all these Facebook groups for comics, and when I have a crowdfunder, I post on all these groups, and sometimes I do it constantly, but I honestly don't think anyone sees it. Like, I think it's a huge waste of time. I don't know. Some people are like, "Oh, you got to be in the comic book groups. You got to be in the comic book groups." I see nothing out of it. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's what I found. It's essentially like white noise to most people, and then on top of that, I find that it was like these lighthouses for drama. It would be all of a sudden you posted something and that someone hates you or hates what you're talking about, and they just saw it, and now all of a sudden the whole thing is just a big headache.
It was very different 8-9 years ago on Facebook.
Oh, way different.
I had to start a Flint Comics page because, like I said, I was getting calls, and I was sending people to the Facebook page and constantly putting up reports. The paper is done. The paper's at the printer. The paper's at the distributor. The paper's out. Good luck. Go find it. That came in real handy. My problem was I took out one ad. That was my big problem. And the algorithms caught me, and they literally took a 0 out of my viewership and then kept telling me how much I needed to go out and buy more ads. And I'm like, screw you. I was done.
I never encourage people to buy ads because I don't.
That was a mistake.
I've had friends of mine that have paid for Facebook ads. I'm on Facebook all day and I never see their ad.
So
Well, what are you fucking paying
So you're
for?
saying
The comic fan can't find your ad.
I literally
What are
went
you
from
paying
3,000 people seeing my posts, and no kidding, 3,000 to 300. Boom.
Wow. After you bought the ad, Facebook penalized you and said, "Oh,
Yep.
you want to reach these people? Buy an ad." Wow.
Exactly.
That's why
Yeah,
I don't
agree with that.
That's
Yeah,
why I
similar
don't.
experience.
But now, also, Pete, I wanted to say I went through 4 or 5 comic book groups, being a major participator in. Okay, always showing off what I had going on, whatever. Major participation, and every one of them was just like what you just said, a fucking drama mess.
Mm-hmm.
So I made my own damn group. It's for promoting and networking. It's not for drama and outworld issues. It's about you guys and what you do. And I post your stuff in it, whether you're on Facebook or not, bro. What do you think of that? You're on Facebook right now. You are live in the madness, brother, right now. See how that works?
Don't chase him off,
I
Pop.
didn't like the Facebook groups that were out there. I didn't like them. You're right. They sucked. But I'm trying to create one that doesn't suck. And we're 2,300 strong, and we're growing.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And there are some people that'll tell you that they have sold a lot of books to people in the madness.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, it's just, that's all I try to do is get you guys seen. I can't make people buy your books, but I can get them seen.
It. Every little bit helps. Hey, listen,
Yeah.
guys, I got a cruise. It's 7:13 here tonight. I got to go eat some dinner and chill out and stuff. So it was good meeting you, Pete.
Thanks,
It was
Frank.
good meeting you finally. Alternative Press. I've definitely heard of you guys for quite some time. Randy, Don, good seeing you guys again. Will,
Great seeing you.
Take care, brother.
talk to you guys soon. Pops, thanks again. Appreciate it, man.
Bet.
We'll,
Have a great night.
We'll talk soon. You guys too. Have a great weekend, man.
Take care,
Stay
Frank.
safe. Later.
Take it easy. Yeah, Frank's done everything though. I mean, Despicable Me storyboard, Bob's Burgers, Rick and Morty, heavy metal editor for a while. I think he still is a editor of heavy metal. Not even sure. This dude does a lot of shit.
Yeah,
man.
contributing editor.
Yeah, he does a lot of good stuff, man. And he did. Warlash did fund on Kickstarter, and just no traction at all on Indiegogo. And I don't get it because, there was a whole bunch of people when I was promoting it on Kickstarter, and I was telling everybody about it. They're like, "Is he going to Indiegogo? Because I'll jump all over that when it gets to Indiegogo." Nothing. When he brought it to Indiegogo and we promoted the hell out of it, nothing. It's like, come on, man. When they use the platform wars, that's fine. But when somebody says, "All right, I'll come over there," y'all need to treat him right when he comes over there.
I was going to
That's the
ask.
difference, though, with crowdfunding too, is that you really have to make sure. I don't know what his promotion has been like for his stuff, but you really got to make sure that you're the face of what it is that you are selling when it comes to crowdfunding. So that's tough.
It is.
I was going to ask Pete, are you ever going to go to Kickstarter, Pete, or exploring that?
I was on Kickstarter. I was on Kickstarter since they started. And I had maybe 5 or 6 or 8 campaigns, something like that. And then Indiegogo, I used them like once or twice, and I thought I didn't like the flexible funding thing. I felt like I just wanted the fixed goal because it just feels weird but what if you don't hit your goal and then you got all the money and then you got to still do the thing or you got a refund? So that was really weird. And then Indiegogo along the way, they did the fixed funding, and then they also changed a lot of different things about their aesthetic, about how you could use the platform, the interface for not just the creator, but also for the backer. And so I figured, okay, I'll give that a shot instead. I really like the way that looks as opposed to Kickstarter, which I felt had kind of grown complacent, that they stagnated a bit because they were the top dog. And everyone was going to Indiegogo at the time too. So it seemed like, all right, I'll try it. I was going to do the first, I think it was Alternaween was the first one that I did on Indiegogo. And I was actually going to launch a Kickstarter and an Indiegogo, but I liked Indiegogo so much with everything. I was like, I'll just do Indiegogo. And if it doesn't really do that well, I'll do a Kickstarter too. But it did great. It did fine. It did like 16 or 17,000, something like that, which was more than it was about getting comics to kids for trick or treats for Halloween. So I thought, okay, that was great, and it was a nice experience the whole way through. And at this point in time, I don't really see Kickstarter making an attempt. There's so many things with Kickstarter at this point that just rub me the wrong way. But at the end of the day, just purely based on what it looks like and how it is to use, I can't not use Indiegogo. Maybe if Kickstarter really, really ups their game and changes a bunch of different things about how they run their business, I'd give them a shot. But I'm not going in that many times soon.
I have heard that El Gate Caper doesn't work there anymore.
It's a lot deeper than that.
What?
It's not a 1 or 2 person thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, but, we still have, like you said, they got a long ways to go to, like, for me personally as a fan, I like Indiegogo because just mainly when I order it, I know they're taking the money right now. Yep. I don't have to wait 6 weeks or, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then have forgotten all about it. And there's a $50 pop on my credit card that I forgot all about because that was 3-4 weeks ago and I smoked a lot of weed. I mean, come on.
You don't say.
Conversely, running Kickstarters, there were times where like we would raise like 8,000 or 9,000 on a Kickstarter, and $1,000 of it was stuff that just didn't go through. Yeah. And you would have to get in touch with backers and say, okay, maybe it's your credit card, or can you please make sure you pay it? And then half of the time they don't pay it for one reason or another. A lot of the times the messages go straight to spam, and then they don't see it. So they don't even know what's going on. And then I'll get messages months later that's like, hey, I never got my... And I'm like, well, the thing didn't go through. Did you get the message? They're like, no, I didn't get the message. So it's just all these problems, all these headaches. And then backing a project again, you got to modify your pledge. You got to do this. You got to do that. It's Indiegogo, you could just go there. You want to back it again and get something different, you could do that. If you want to communicate with the project manager about shipping or whatever, you could do that, and they could work something out for you with a secret perk or something like that. And again, with Kickstarter, I know they're starting to do add to cart and things like that too. More of like an easier system when it comes to adding something to your overall pledge. But yeah, doing the add-ons. But it's just, why Kickstarter do you not even still have images associated with the rewards? Indiegogo, I loved that about it. I loved just that alone. As a very image-oriented person, I loved the idea you could put images associated with the perk. Yeah. All these different things. It was just so simple and so basic of like, oh, duh, yeah.
I agree. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Pete. That was a good answer.
Yeah. It's not just like, an ideology thing or something with me. It's always okay. Well, it's got to check off a couple different boxes for me before I go, oh, that's no good. And with Kickstarter, I'm like, you guys got to change a bunch of things, and then maybe I'll look at your way again. But for now, I'm true blue Indiegogo for me anyway. I don't know about, again, that's the thing. If I run an alternate campaign or my own campaign, it's Indiegogo. If there's an alternate creator who wants to run a Kickstarter and not an Indiegogo, I'll always advise everyone at Alternate, run an Indiegogo, because there's a network there. We already have everybody built in. I can send updates out to my crew as well of the backers that were there and tell them to go back. But if you don't want to do an Indiegogo and you want to do a Kickstarter, all right, just be aware it's probably going to be a little more difficult for you to secure that funding. If it's not, and you really want to pound the pavement and you think you're confident about it, okay, great. But again, it's a creator-owned thing, so they get to pick and choose. Or if they don't want to do a crowdfunder, they don't need to do a crowdfunder either. There's a million different options for everybody.
That was the whole point that we were talking about. It's like, explore all the options, because you never know what's going to work for you or the fans of your projects. Okay, I'm a fan. I look at it from the completely other side. Okay, if something comes up on Kickstarter, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to end up on Indiegogo, I'm probably going to go ahead and back it on Kickstarter because I want fucking book. You know what I mean? It's like, sometimes as a fan, you don't have the option. Okay, if you want it, you're going to have to buy it wherever it's at. But as a creator, you guys get to explore all the options. You know, you get to go where your fans are. And if your fans are hollering, hey, come over here.
And that's the other part. No one even is asking us to go to Kickstarter. So that's
Right.
another thing that's not motivating me. You know, if I have like 100 people saying, hey, I wish you would go to Kickstarter,
it's
I'd
usually
back
the other
book.
way around. It's usually the other way around. Somebody whose book is on Kickstarter, and there's people, Indiegogo fans who only use Indiegogo, and they're like, hey, are you as a creator going to bring that over to IGG so I can get it? Okay. And that was what we were talking about with Frank. Okay. Frank had a successful Kickstarter, and a whole bunch of people in the Twitter community and you know, IGG fans are like, is he going to bring it over there so we can back it? So he did. You know, it's like, come on, y'all. It's like, if they
that's
do
why
follow
it's
the
really
fans,
important too. And I preach the
you
fact
know,
that when you're doing these things, these crowdfunders, whatever it may be, that you also have a website, a web store, or you're going to sell it on eBay or somewhere else afterwards with the overstock.
Right.
This way, someone who, because there's people who just flat out even don't want to purchase anything from a crowdfunder. They want to purchase it once it's done. And I completely understand and respect that as well. So, you know, we have some exclusives that make it worth your while, stretch goals and things like that. If you do back and you give us your trust and your faith in terms of us giving that project to its completion and getting it done to you. But if you don't want to do any of that, you're just like, I don't really care for the extra stuff, the exclusives or whatever else is signed this or whatever. I just literally want the book. Then they can purchase it on our web store. You know, so it's any creator out there who's not, if you don't have any way to sell any of that afterwards, please reconsider something like that. Don't just make it only crowdfunding.
And even so, the in-demand option on Indiegogo is a great thing. You know, I mean, you go in demand, people buy them. Look, I was talking to somebody. Was it Clint? Somebody whose book closed at 14,000. Not quite a year, let's say 9 months later, and their book is at 45,000. They have tripled because they went in demand and they kept talking about their book. They kept promoting it. Here it is. You can still get it. Now they, you know, another 30,000 since that campaign closed. You know, I mean,
that's a tough problem to have.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for moving on to the second book, but don't forget to sell the first one. Keep selling the first one. Don't stop selling your stuff. You know?
That's something, honestly, that when you really think about it, the biggest difference that I find anyway between indie creators and the mainstream. The mainstream is a lot of the stuff right now of, you know, it's the latest thing. It's constantly selling the thing that's even 2 or 3 or 4 months ahead. With little regard to what's out there right now in terms of promotion and marketing and getting the word out. Everything is about just constantly putting product out there in a market that's already massively overcrowded. Whereas with indie creators, they have that time and that emphasis putting it towards the marketing and the promotion and saying, I can maybe do 1, 2, or 3, maybe 3 a year. But everything in between, from the creation process to getting it out there, I can have time to promote and market and get the word out, because it doesn't matter if you can create 20 books a year. If you don't have the time to tell anybody about them, you might as well not make one.
Exactly.
So the whole difference is why you can see some people in the mainstream where they have distribution or whatever, and they sell like 1,000 books, but they can't make a living with crap. As opposed to one person goes on Indiegogo or Kickstarter and they run it really well and they promote the hell out of it, and they sold maybe half the amount along with everything else, and they're making like 10 to 20 times what that other person made, who now has their book in a comic shop. And, you know, some people go, oh, well, you're only a professional once the book's in retail. Well, I'd rather have my books in the hands of readers as opposed to the shelves of a retailer. Because in a retailer, as we all know, and I love back issue bins, but the shelf life could be 20 or 30 or 40 years of that poor book sitting there till it's just like in the 50-cent bin till, I don't know, maybe it goes in the trash one day. I'd
Well,
rather
that's
have the
because
book go
Diamond used to
straight
make
from
them
me
take
to you.
500 copies of that crap. That's what
You know, instead of like a nice big thick stack sitting there on the retail shelf, and you're like, hey, look at that. I got a big stack of books on the retail shelf. I'd rather have one copy in the hand of a reader.
Yeah.
There you go. And that's, that is the goal. Like I said, there's a lot of comic fans. That's the only place they know to go to get their comics is their local store. That's, and they're, a lot of people were big on supporting the local stores all during the shutdown. The ones that were trying to stay open.
Yeah, and I'm big on supporting them too. I love local comic shops, but the thing is that as a publisher, as a creator,
they gotta love your back.
I can't stand when it's like, you got to support our store, drive people to our store to get your book. And I'm like, okay, which book do you have? We don't have any. You got to make sure that people come in here wanting to get it. If I am supposed to be your marketing arm, local comic shop, I'll just have them click on a link to order directly from me and save 60%.
Yeah.
So you got to give me something here. It can't just be we do everything and then we send them to your store and then you make the sale. And that's insanity. What are you doing to bring people into your shop as well? What are you doing to highlight specific kinds of books? Do you have even organization within your store by genre? So people that have no friggin' idea, they walk into a comic shop, they're like, I want to try some comics today. And they don't know Alterna from Marvel. And they go up, but you know what? I do like horror. I do like sci-fi. Superheroes seem kind of interesting. Do you have it organized by genre so someone that comes in there can actually get a book and go, hey, I like these kinds of books? Not instead where most shops, it's by publisher or it's just alphabetical. So you don't know what the hell is what. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different things that can be done to help maximize not just the sales of publishers or whatever, but the sales of the store. And then it keeps them around. It keeps them making business. It keeps them bringing business in. And then it keeps us, the publishers and the creators, it keeps us in business too. But if everything is all about, no, you're supposed to do this and then that person's supposed to do that, and that's not a good system for anyone. And it's just everyone's circling the drain until it's the last 20% are there. And then, everyone else is on Indiegogo or Kickstarter. And then all the comic shops are going, well, who's supporting us? And I want to say, well, did you support anybody when they were out there with their books?
They got to love you back. They got to love you back. That's, there's no doubt about that. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah. I got no problem promoting a comic shop that wants to carry Alterna books. I love the shops that do. I appreciate the ones that do. But man, oh man, my biggest is just the fact that over the past 15 years, being a publisher, being a creator, knowing that you will go out of your way to make sure comic shops are supported, that people know about them and everything else like that. And then there's so many shops that don't return that love. And they go, well, what are you doing for me? I want to be like, well, at this point, I've been around long enough. I want to say, well, what are you doing for the comic creators out there, for the publishers out there too? And I don't mean the big two or whatever the hell. I'm talking about every other publisher out there, the local creators. A lot of these stores don't even have a local creator area. That's madness to me. A lot of these stores that they'll go to a convention. We were talking about conventions earlier. I can't name one comic shop that was at a convention that I saw ever circulating around the tables and going, hey, can I get 2 copies? I want to put them in my store. Can you give me a discount, 50% off? I can't think of one retailer, and I've done like maybe 50 or 60 conventions in 15 years. Not once did that ever happen. But I went up to different retailers and I said, hey, I'm Alterna Comics publisher Peter Simeti. We've got a bunch of great books here. I think your customers would really love them. What about 50% off? I can give you 2 copies of each. None of them wanted them either. So I don't know what to tell you guys when the comic shops turn around and go, well, no one wants to support us. And I'm like, man, you got to be a part of it. It's kind of the same thing when we're doing marketing and doing networking here. If someone's just like, take, and they never, ever, ever want to give. They never want to give their time or a retweet or a whatever or a share anything or talk about anything with anyone or have anyone on their channel or whatever. And then when no one comes to support them, it's like, well, look, dude, you just want to take. You know, you got to give a little bit too. You got to pay it forward also when people help you out.
Yep.
You know, indies, I see that. The readers that read indies, especially right now, I see that. Everything else, that's why I was like last year, it wasn't a hard decision. Some people said, oh, it's a hard decision to leave Diamond. It wasn't a hard decision to leave Diamond at that point in time. It felt like I exhausted all my possible methods at that point. Other than doing the thing of literally, I mean, and that's insanity. Pick up the phone and call like 1,000 retailers every month because that's what it felt like you had to do. I was like, what the hell that amount of time I could just put out all that energy into just saving the 60% and getting readers directly from us. And I think a lot of people are seeing that too.
Yep.
So Randy has a little thing that they're kicking off right now that also has to do with distributing, putting indie comics in stores.
Working on it. Yeah.
And doing it from the other, just like I said, more from a fan's outlook and trying to look at it like this is a symbiotic relationship. Everybody, the fans, the retailers, the publishers, and the creators all have to realize that it's a symbiotic relationship. It doesn't work if one of those four elements isn't all in. It won't work for that person of that element. If it's a publisher, if it's a fan, there's always going to be something missing until everybody's working together. There's always going to be something missing. I've tried promoting crowdfunding platforms that were designed to put books in retailers to shops. Oh my God, we lost Randy. I've promoted and do my best to get everybody seen. That's all I do. I'm just a fan. I'm not a publisher. I'm not a promoter. I'm not a con organizer. None of that shit. I was a fan. And COVID knocked all the tables out. A bunch of my friends didn't have a way to make an income. And I became a con organizer and a promoter and all that. That was, I was none of these things. The only reason I can come out here and do this in front of people is because I do have a little radio background. So coming out here and talking and being personable and all that, that comes natural. I can do this part. But for me, that's all I can do for you guys is try to get you seen, right? So I build a group, I build a YouTube platform, I'm trying to build a Twitch platform. The Twitter's blowing up, the reach is getting longer every month. The reach is a little bit longer. We got double-digit viewers right now. We haven't had a pre-con show in a couple months. No, there wasn't even anybody really expecting one this month. We got people watching. So, this is what it's about. It's about exposure for everybody. For Don, for Pete, for Randy, for everybody. What they're doing has to be seen in order for the fans, like me, to find it and buy it. It's got to be seen. You got to hit the share button. You got to retweet, And everybody that knows me knows that's all I freaking do all day is bounce stuff from Facebook to Twitter to back and forth and up and down and all around. That's all I do. With the little politics thrown in on the Twitter because Twitter's fun. Mr. Gonzalez, what's happening? Look, there's a whole bunch of killer, awesome people in the chat right now. And we're like running into our last half hour. Will.
Oh,
Will.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Is Will here? Does Will have a prepared question for our guests?
You didn't tell me I had to prepare before the show.
Well, you can't be a co-host and just sit there and not say nothing, dude.
I was saying shit. What the hell?
Right. Come on. What do you got?
Fine, I'm here. I got water. What do you got?
Gatorade. Good.
Sure it is. So, I mean, I discovered Pete way back in the day when he actually did do a little Facebooking, and I actually bought the chair and the Blu-ray DVD combo pack off of Rubber Chicken Comics out in Bellingham, Mass, right down the street from where Pete filmed a commercial for Alterna way back in the day that a whole bunch of my friends were in, including somebody that did a little something for Alterna. It came out on a Wednesday there, Frankie B.
Oh yeah, Frankie's been, man, I've known Frankie for so long. Yeah, Frankie's great. Yeah, tell Jay at Rubber Chicken to friggin' start ordering direct from us. Jesus, Jay. Pulling teeth with that guy.
I know.
You get a bigger discount than you would through Diamond. And local dude, he's a good dude. But he's not going to get any of our books through Diamond. We're not going back. Unless Diamond really changes and does some great stuff. And I don't
So what
really
you're
see
saying,
that
you're not going back to Diamond. We get it.
Yeah. Yes.
I wouldn't.
So as long as, but if Jay wants to order direct, we just hook him up with a nice, easy store discount code, lifetime code, super easy to order from the website. A lot of retailers that order from us, they say that it's easier to order from us than it is to order from Diamond. So come on, Jay, if you're watching, goodness gracious.
And the books will show up in one piece too.
And the free shipping on $25 ordered or more. Come on. Diamond ain't going to give you free shipping.
What's that all about?
No, they're going to charge you for the free shipping.
Exactly. It's free as long as you pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's free as long as you pay for it.
Exactly. This is free with a donation.
Your free shipping comes with a donation of $250 this week.
Oh, well, since they brought up money, I'm going to go ahead and throw this up there. It doesn't matter, but I'm going to throw it up there anyway.
But Rubber Chicken's a good shop. Just, make sure you say, Jay, order some alternative books.
I'll have a chat with him. I gotta call him next week. And
he's got a lot to catch up on. A year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah. His convention's back too, so he's
man, nice.
He's set up over at Terrificon this weekend, and I saw somebody behind Little Mighty Mascots there was over.
Yeah, Keith Gleason. Yeah, Keith's gonna be there.
Yep, and he's worked with both you guys. So
yeah,
I saw him today because a friend of ours they're doing Mavericks Volume 1 on Indiegogo.
Yeah.
Global
Frequency.
And he left the wife at the booth, and he walked around with his phone, trying to show everybody what was going on, and it just turned into a shopping trip for an F.
Did it look like it was well attended, the con?
Friday's always like a day because people are still working. There was still a bunch of people around. I guess it was like a lot busier earlier and stuff, but and this was like about a half hour before they were shutting it down for the day. So it was like,
and it's in Connecticut. Is that what you said, Will?
Yeah. It's in Uncasville at Mohegan Sun Casino.
Oh, okay. I was going to say it's still there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the casino's not there. I mean, the casino's still there, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Don, here, Zerker, bro. What's up?
Yeah. It's we're still working on it. All the artwork has been completed. We're just waiting on the colorist to finish. Got about 10 or so more pages to color. Keith Gleason is our letter, actually, the Mighty Mascots guy. And so we're basically in demand, and we're creeping up to like almost just on Indiegogo, we're almost to 9,000 on the campaign. And over the last like every time we hit 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, I've been sending Michael Bancroft a new costume. So the first stretch goal was his pirate shirt.
That was
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
I didn't know that
Yeah.
was you.
Yeah, that was
Wow.
done.
Yeah, I sent
I
him.
didn't know that was him
the
either. I was telling Pops, I go, I went and tried to watch Bancroft's show, but he's there in a puffy shirt. I was getting like flashbacks of Seinfeld.
I don't want to be a
I
pirate.
couldn't watch it. And he's like, goes, Don Chin gave him that shirt. Why?
Wow.
Yeah, I know. He's like my.
Because-
I don't know. It's just the running gag now. So the second outfit was a Prince outfit, complete with a purple sequin, coat and the wig. And then the third one was a King Tut Egyptian, kind of, Egyptian soldier guy, and so he had the whole headgear and robe. So the surprise is hopefully next week it'll be arriving to his studio, but I'm sure he'll announce it on his Twitter that he's going to have a new outfit. So it's just fun just to make people laugh and network with you guys. And
that's the whole thing. Keep it entertaining. Keep it entertaining. Keep it fun. Keep it light. Have a good time. This is comics, y'all. It's supposed to be fun.
It is.
Don, you'll know when he gets the outfit because you'll hear somebody from Australia screaming at the top of his lungs. What the fuck?
He's a fun guy. I like Michael. He's talk about promoting. He does a lot for people too, and I appreciate him.
And these
all you guys,
Pete, yeah, these guys with the huge audiences, right? These are the guys that inspire me to keep building my audience and keep building my platform so that I get the same kind of results that they get when I bring somebody out here. 20 or 30 people back their book right then. It's like, I don't have to be that yet. I'd like to be that guy, and I'll keep working to be one of those guys. It's fun. Man, it's supposed to be fun. Have fun.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to put in the time. I mean, just building your channel. Pete, how long have you had a YouTube channel?
I'll say how long I've actually been building it in earnest. My personal channel, maybe like a year, and then the alternate channel, I'd say maybe about 3. Because I've had the channels old. They're older than that, but I didn't really. I honestly never thought I'd ever even be on YouTube.
COVID did that.
I'm like,
That's
YouTube's for people that talk like this all the time, and I'm talking about things and blah blah blah. Oh my god! I'm like, as soon as like a YouTube video would pop up and someone's talking 1,000 miles an hour, and it's just, I'm like, oh my, off. Where is the switch? Throw the computer out the window for crying out loud.
That's why you got.
And I didn't want to, And I didn't want to be one of those people, but now here I am with sunglasses inside. This is what happens.
But that's why you got Timmy the timer, though. See, because you keep everybody in that time limit. Get it all out right now. You make everybody talk fast. You're the guy causing that now, Pete.
No. See, you don't have to talk fast. It's about quality, not.
You shrink them down into that 3 minutes.
But it's about quality. If you can't communicate your idea for a book within 5 minutes, man, you got to learn how.
You have a great platform. Don't get me wrong. I ain't dissing on you at all. You have a great platform for helping people learn to pitch and promote. You put them out there, and you got this much time. Get it out. And sometimes you even put a little pressure on them. You do help people to learn to promote themselves. I mean, it's awesome. I love watching your show, man. I love being on your show.
Sorry to drop off there. The hamster stopped running on the wheel.
What's that, Don?
Not enough radioactivity? What?
I had to feed him. He got mad. I don't know.
I was gonna say, Pete, I think you tried like a 3-minute one time, didn't you? That was like,
yeah, I've done the 3-minute one a couple of times. And the regulars that were used to the 5, they got really good, So the 3 minutes, they were just breezing through it. But then sometimes you get 1 or 2 new people on the show during the 3-minute one, and God bless them. But it's a harrowing experience. So yeah, the 3 minutes that's like the pro level of if you could pitch your project and get it out there succinctly and with passion and enthusiasm in the 3 minutes, man, you're good. But the 5 minutes is the usual length of the show per guest.
And some of us get on this program and they can't stop yapping. That's the.
Oh, hi, Don.
That's what I did. Yeah, I just wouldn't shut up. I just.
You guys got to watch the replay of Pete and Pops the wrestling theme.
Oh, dude.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. When you do the themed show, that's just as much fun because you don't give people time to prepare. You just like right before the show, this is what we're going to do, y'all. And I seen that one. I was like, wrestling theme. All right, but I'm going to go out here and talk to Pete.
You did great.
Dude, it was so much fun. I'm promoting CRoM Con. It's not like I have a project to promote. I'm promoting the show. But it was like, Pete, you're not quite doing the job well enough. And I got to throw some Randy at him and some Rock and some Stone Cold. Yeah, it was a blast. But when people do stuff that's fun, I keep coming back to this word, y'all. I keep coming back to this word. Keep comics fun. Keep everything associated with the comics fun. The YouTube channels, everything that we're doing, keep it light, keep it fun, and your fan base is just gonna increase. The only people that leave a channel leave it because it ain't no fun.
Yep.
Yeah, show some personality. And the thing is, it's always funny to look at all of our early videos on things because we're all like scared to death. Everyone's like, so it's like you're talking and you're hostage. So yeah, I have comics to talk about today. Hopefully you like them.
You go back on the early indie vaults, and Varian and I look like we're in dark closets talking like,
yeah.
Hey, how do you like comics? Comics are cool. Hey, what's going on? Yeah.
CRoM Con 1.
Everyone.
CRoM
But
Con 1. I didn't know
fine.
anybody. I did not know anybody on the list, the paper plate. Oh, Pete might not have never seen this. This is the actual guest list from CRoM Con 1 last year. This is the actual guest list. Okay. That's how much organizational skills I had when it come to CRoM Con. I wrote the shit on a paper plate.
And you used to get stuck when he had a sandwich too.
It was the nearest thing handy when people started telling me what time they wanted to be on the show. So there it is, and this thing's 17 months old, Pete, is still hanging around the room. It's
because he can't throw nothing out.
I can't throw that out. It was like, man, that was the first one. But I can imagine going back and watching that and me being so nervous because I didn't know anybody. Not one person. I was interviewing Keith Williams, Polito. There was, Mark McKenna. There was some old school, comic people on there. Mike Barron. I didn't know any of these people. And man, now it's like I know them all. Hey, I talk to them all the time. It's fun, But back then, nervous as hell. No idea what I was doing. Not a con organizer, not a con promoter, just a guy with a Facebook group. That's all I was. Now I feel like I'm growing. It's becoming something that people know about and look forward to, and that makes it fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Michael T.
I saw that. That's hilarious, Michael.
On toilet paper. Yep. Stepping up in the world.
Shit's going down this weekend.
There we go.
We don't want to circle the bottom, though. Pete already told us we don't want to be circling the bottom. So, Randy.
Sir.
Randy, you missed out on a few minutes.
I'm sorry. That wasn't my fault. It was my damn hamster.
I'm going to go ahead and let you be the first one to do the on your way out. Tell everybody where they can find you. But I also want you
Actually,
to.
before that, I actually have to go. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
I thought it was 10:45. It's 10:50 here right now. I got to get going. I got to pack up stuff and get it out tomorrow. Thank you so much for having me on. Awesome show. Really a lot of fun talking to you guys.
Pete.
Don, I guess I'll see you tomorrow. Whatever, I'm seeing you every day.
See him every day. Yeah. Pete, hold up. Before you go.
That looks awesome, man. That's
I
great.
want to enter this one. I want to enter this piece into your auction if I can.
Oh, that's pretty. Nice.
This is Marv. No, this is Marv from Sinjin.
Marv. Yeah.
Okay,
that's pretty.
it's Daenerys and her dragon from Game of Thrones, but I'd like to enter this into your auction tomorrow, but I'm going to be doing CRoM Con. I'm not going to be able to be there.
Well, the next one, we'll probably have another one in like 2 months or so. Hopefully you can join that one. Yeah, 2 months.
I just want to enter this in tomorrow's.
Sell that whenever you'd like. Sell it tomorrow on your show.
There you go.
There you go.
Well, I mean, it's been available and it's been available in my group for a while. Nobody's grabbed it. That's why I want to put it out somewhere else where it might get seen by somebody else.
Yeah, we got so many great people on tomorrow's show. If everybody's around, youtube.com/Peter Simeti. We've got the show tomorrow, 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern time. We got a bunch of great creators auctioning off amazing pieces of art. Some of these guys, holy smokes, you guys don't want to miss it. Thank you guys so much for having me on. Everybody take care. Have a great
it's always good to see you.
Bye, Pete.
Absolutely.
See you, buddy.
All right. So
awesome. Randy.
Now, like I said, I want Randy to go, but before you check out, I want you to make sure everybody knows about what you're doing.
If my hamster will cooperate, yes.
Right.
But you start talking about it again and it cuts out. There's something going on. Anyway.
It's CRoM. It's CRoM.
It's CRoM. The evil CRoM. Yes. What we did with Aero Comics is we went through and crowdfunded an Indie Revolt book that has a group of contributors of the people that you see a lot of times on our podcast that went through and gave us a short story. We put it together. We crowdfunded it. It's on a flexible goal. We just printed to as close to order as we could, and that was it. But that was the start of Aero Comics' return. As I was working on a separate campaign project that I wanted to do that involved the history of comics, because I love comics history. But Ralph come down with the bug, and he had COPD. He knew his time on Earth was very short. We had him on the Sunday Funnies program. We talked about Aero Comics. I told him I wanted to bring Aero Comics back. He told me to do it and keep doing it until you can't do it anymore. So that's what we're doing. So at that point, Varian has been working on Liberty distribution for a while. And Liberty is a different kind of distributor in that they fill to order. Retailer orders books directly from Liberty that they have in-house, and then they fill that order and ship it right out to the retailer so that they can take it right out of the box and put it on the shelves. So in order to do that, we had to have some books done. We just got the first 4 Aero Comics in yesterday, and that is Only Death Can Save Us by Russ Leach, that we have cut down to 32-page books. Oh, they're pretty. The books are I am amazed at the printing quality of the books. Each book is 32 pages. Beautiful color. Just phenomenal printing. Also got HeroBot Zero, which is my book. That's a 3-foot-tall giant robot that fights big monsters. He's got a bad attitude. The only time he'll fight the monsters is if he's on the clock or getting overtime hazard pay. Now, we also did Indie Revolt, the book that we campaigned. We're cutting down into 32-page books. Actually, we're adding some more stories. The cover, in fact, that was added to, just so it can be distinguished. The cover was by Chris Skelf, who did a lot of work for Dark Horse during the Star Wars days when they had it. So it's a different-looking cover, slightly different-looking cover. But it's all black and white short stories with a few IPs, just some great stuff. And then we also did Luke Stone's Hybrids that he restarted with a #1, remastered it, added more material. Like I said, every comic is 32 pages of comics. just on top quality paper. And then the way we were able to do that is we got in together with a bunch of other publishers, like Unstoppable Comics is doing The Interceptor, which is a great superhero title. Dreamweaver Press is doing Tall Tales, which is a book that's been around for a long time. It's got about 20 or so issues to it. The Oswald Chronicles that J.D. Calderon writes and has different people working. It's about a mouse wizard. It's an amazing book. Also, we got Wellkeeper involved in that nice book. And sorry, what?
Oh, you're good. You're good, Randy.
Am I good?
I'm just like, I'm loving.
And we also have God's Hand from Anthony Figaro. So we all got together as Liberty, got a bunch of stuff printed, and they have Liberty has books on hand. They have a catalog that's getting ready to get done, a physical catalog. And the way Liberty is going to work is the retailer orders online, pays for it. Liberty puts it in a box and ships it to them directly, immediately. And every book comes bagged and boarded with there's a Liberty backing board that's on it. This isn't the layout for it, but it has the Liberty logo on it. And that way, if a retailer puts it on his shelf and it's there for too long, because we were talking about that earlier about whether or not they wanted to long box it or put it in the bargain bin or whatever. If a retailer sees a Liberty book that they don't want any longer, they can trade it in for another Liberty book.
Smart. Randy, what's your price point?
All of the books are $5, $4.99.
Yeah,
and that's because we're not big time printers. We had a small print run. Our profit margin on this isn't even what the mainstream makes off of it. But we wanted to put the best printed quality book out together. They're all done from the same printer. We absolutely love the product. Yeah, there we go. There's the Liberty backing board.
That's right. Pops promotes it all, baby.
And Varian talked to a lot of retailers. He has a lot of friends that are retailers. I retailed for a good decade. We had a lot of discussions about what an alternative and an independent distributor would absolutely have to do for a retailer in order for them to have confidence in the product and in order to be able to sell the product, and if they couldn't sell it, to turn it back in. So returns are definitely a possibility. The trade-ins, really, it's not quite returns, but we're real happy about that. Arrow's going to be kicking out 4 books a month for that, and Liberty, being the way that it is also out there, like we said earlier, looking for other avenues, looking for other places. And there will be a major announcement coming from Liberty in a couple of weeks as to some stuff that's happening, some stuff that's going to happen. And we're just super excited about it. And like if you saw on Facebook yesterday, we got in 27,000 comics into the warehouse, and we repackaged 18,000 of those immediately to go right back out. And we can't be more excited about it. And we'd scream it from the top of our lungs if we weren't being cautious at the moment. Like I said, in a couple of weeks, there'll be an official media push and a big announcement as to what's happening. And we're just excited that it's going to happen. Hopefully, we'll help alternative and independent comics make a small mark out there on the wider market base.
Good job, Randy.
That's what we're out to do.
And that's,
beautiful.
Like I said, it's like I said, it's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to work together, I mean, as a fan and as a promoter of indie comics, I'm going to be promoting the hell out of Liberty Distribution as well.
And it's just the start. As more people come into Liberty, as more retailers come in, they've got 80 retailers, not counting any other announcements. They have 80 retailers already signed up. We're trying to encourage more retailers to get on board as quickly as possible, because all of these books are going to be available for retail at retail discount, 50% at least. Prices straight to the retailer, already bagged and boarded, like I said. And all of that, because of the way Liberty works, obviously, all of the print runs are going to be limited. So as soon as they're done, they're done. And then we'll be moving on. We're planning on doing a monthly release, 4 books a month. So this month for Arrow it was HeroBot 01, it was Hybrids 1, Indie Revolt 1, and Only Death Can Save Us 1. Only Death is going to be bi-monthly. HeroBot's going to be bi-monthly. So the next month in September, really, we will have Indie Revolt 2, Hybrids 2, and then 2 more new titles that we'll be introducing. One is Calico. That's a very high fantasy book, involves a talking cat, an elf who likes to trade things, a centaur warrior, a barbarian fairy, and an old wizened wizard as they travel through their fantasy world. And then also Paragon, which is a superhero story set in modern day with a nice little twist to it, almost off the concept of what would happen on a world where suddenly a Superman type being were to suddenly show up, and how everybody would take that nowadays. So we're really
like our world with no superheroes, and then suddenly Superman showed up today.
Oh no, there's costume crazies running around.
Okay.
So, and they know what comics are. They know what superheroes are. In fact, they've had I've got plans for this. This is a long almost like a universe type thing where there's going to be 4 or 5 other books that'll all tie right into this, but this is where it's going to start. The book's name is Paragon. I'd throw the cover up if you wanted me to. Here, if you give me just a second to get stuff set up here. I'm really excited about both that and Calico is amazing. Calico Shard is the fantasy book, and really excited about both of them. Let me pull them up here. Give me just a second to pull them through. So now I'm back doing a monthly grind again, just like I was working on the newspaper, having the time of my life doing this kind of stuff that I've always wanted to do, and just having a blast. It's been so much fun to do, and so much fun to be involved with these guys. And this endeavor is really exciting. And like I said, be on the lookout. A couple of weeks from now, we'll be making a nice big announcement that we can't wait to tell you about.
I know. I've been following you guys now for about, year and a half, something like that. And I've watched you guys go through some shit, get hassled by people, all kinds of crap, sup ass boys, everything, halos. It's like nobody wants to cut you guys any slack, but I got you, man.
We're working on it, Here we go. There's the cover for Paragon 1 and the cover for Calico 1.
All right.
Do you see them? Cool.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. Paragon's being drawn by J.R. Harris, who's kind of a newcomer, but I knew him from the newspaper days. I picked him up with Flint Comics. He's done his own work. He's done a number of graphic novels, done a number of one-shots for other folks. I talked to him about doing Paragon. We serialized some of the first story in the paper, and then we put it in color here for Paragon. And then Calico is the artwork for that is by C. Michael Lanning, and he also is a newcomer. The work he's doing here is just phenomenal, just amazing stuff.
I was going to ask if that was his work, but then also I was going to ask now: are these number ones going to be exclusive to Arrow, or are they going Kickstarter then Arrow, or?
Well, if they go to Kickstarter, it's going to be. I figure it's going to be as a collection, as a. Let me jump back.
The first printing of these 2 books is going to be Arrow under the Arrow banner.
As the direct market versions, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we might put them all. We'll put them all together into like a director's cut, and have maybe 1 or 2 extra stories thrown into the book, and make it a nice little collection. Paragon is going to run the plans right now for mostly single issue stories, because I want to do superheroes the old fashioned way, but with a modern look to it, so that folks can walk in on the book on number 2 or number 3 and not be totally lost, or see that they have to see it's a 3 of 6 or a 4 of 6 and be discouraged from picking up the book. For the time being, all of the stories in there will be single issue, but their subplots will continue on and on. Calico is going to be one great big long epic story that's going to unfold like an onion. And in fact, the end of the first issue, some really great startling things happen, and then runs all the way through the second issue. It's very much a fantasy book, a lot of fantasy elements, a lot of there's flying dragons, there's large crab monsters, there's small what we call blood runts that are small crabs that are going around chasing after different people, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. It's meant to be a lot of fun.
Fun. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good job, Randy. Right. You're a busy man.
Thank you. Yes. I love it. Like I said, having the time of my life. And then we're also doing on the odd month, I'm working on HeroBot, and then HeroBot, and then Breathing Easier. And
are you also going to get Justice Chronicles to go along with God's Hand?
Yeah, that's part of it. But God's Hand will come out 1, 2, 3, and then Justice Chronicles will come out 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
And then hopefully God's Hand, they'll flop every 3 months. God's Hand will come out, then Justice City Chronicles, then God's Hand. Yeah, Anthony's working on that right now.
Cool.
And then Only Death Can Save Us will be coming out in bi-monthly. And so it'll be a continuous run, but we'll have enough time for Russ to sit there and do number 2s, do the number 2 campaign, do the campaign for book 2, and get that all out for the fans first. And then, like what Peter is doing, we'll serialize it, break it down into 32 pages, page books, and then run it from there.
Cool.
Nice.
So very excited about it. Yeah. And then hybrids right now, Luke is working on issue 10. So we're not too worried about hitting a monthly schedule for a while.
And since you brought up Luke and hybrids, I got to throw in a plug for my co-host Piper, the editor of.
Oh
Hybrid.
Yeah, yep. Piper is editing that.
Oh, nice.
Yep, she is. And they're going through and literally remastering from the original campaigned books. So it's almost like you're getting a whole different animal. Same story. A lot of the art is cleaned up. A lot of the colors are redone, and it's re-edited. So more added scenes into the book and that kind of thing. It's
cool.
It's really really a good product. All of them are great. I can't believe the printing quality on these are top notch. We've been real fortunate with that, and
awesome.
So there's absolutely no way I can have Don on my show and not play the Beard Zerker trade.
No, you can't. Yeah,
it's not possible. Okay, because like I said, this is about fun.
Yes,
so,
it is.
Ahead,
I did want to say, just in a little bit of a somber moment, we need to pay our respects to Dusty Hill, the bassist of ZZ Top, who passed away this week. So you can see his. I'll duck down here. You can see the ZZ in our logo.
It's a little double Z working there.
From ZZ Top. So if you watch this, enjoy it. But also, let's say a little prayer for Dusty and the ZZ Top fans out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna play this thing. I gotta make sure the volume's up and all that. Let's go.
Comics are totally awesome.
Totally
and
awesome.
I'm totally awesome too.
I love this video.
Beard Zerker has everything you want from a comic. It's got great drawings, colors, great
I think there's a little echo, my friend.
It's got great action,
Yeah, mute yourself,
has a
Bob.
little romance, and it's about something. Not just any something. It's a parody of some thing. And I was like, well, I used to collect, and I love comic books. And they were like, so, did you ever want to make a comic book? And I was like, yeah. And then Parody Press was like, oh, yeah. So they made a comic book that's a parody of my comic book. And it will probably be pretty hilarious, because that's what a parody is. Or at least what it's supposed to be. You know, this idea of kind of like a rock and roll warrior. Someone in an altered state. Someone with a big guitar axe. And a pet cat that's from the hood. Just out of control. Speaking of out of control, there's his beard. It gets bigger and longer throughout the book until it takes on a fantastical life of its own. It's like, whoa! So, check it out. If you do, I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed making it. But honestly, I didn't really do that much, other than rambling on about comics and books. I mean, comic books. Wait, what was I saying? Oh well. Enjoy! Beard Zerker from Parody Press. Back it today!
Thanks, Pops. I think you're muted, my friend.
You're muted. He's laughing.
You guys
He's
told
talking.
me to mute myself. What is it?
Oh, you
Always
guys are fun.
Don, go ahead and tell people where they can find you, brother.
You're seeing the scrolling down the bottom. That's our Facebook page. We have I'm on Twitter at Real Don Chin or at Parody Press. I think it's parody_press. And our websites for our books are the names of the book. So the first thing that we released earlier this year was X-Farce. So if you just go to xfarce.com, it'll take you to the Indiegogo In Demand. You can still get back issues of that. And then Beard Zerker is also still in demand. So just go to beardzerker.com and it should take you to the Indiegogo page. As Pete mentioned, I'm going to be on his auction tomorrow. Unfortunately, I won't be on CRoM Con this weekend, but I am doing some stuff with.
That's why you're here now.
Yeah, with Pete. Yeah, that's right. That's why I'm here early. So I'm going to be selling.
And check it out. Everybody, we also have the Neff's panel tomorrow night at 9:00.
Oh, nice.
It's pretty wide open. You guys, you could pop in. I'm sure.
Yeah, I love Neff. He's I'm going to have him on my show in August. So that'll be cool. Yeah, so I'm going to be selling, this is my first attempt at a variant cover, drawing. This is the Pete instead of the Pit. Pete Simeti. Okay. I've got some old hamsters. Got some old hamster stuff from Bill Mouse, back in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Some comic books, some comic strip artwork. Actually, I was going to say, Randy, cool. You and I are like kindred spirits because I used to publish a comic book collection magazine called Comics Review. And it's still
really?
Running today.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. Heck yeah.
I started that, and then Rick Norwood, he's still publishing it to this day. So I think it's probably one of the longest running comic strip reprint magazines out there.
Probably the longest running, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, guys, that's pretty much.
I got a lot of issues of those. Weekend. That's sweet. Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
Randy, that's cool. We'll have to trade. I'll send you a comics review for your paper.
Yeah, I got a couple of copies waiting for the hamster to get running. So.
All right. Cool.
It's a regular newspaper, folds out like a tabloid.
I love it.
Got all sorts of comics and stuff.
That's great.
Color and black and white. Everything from Popeye to Cynical Man,
That's cool. I like
it. Ran Mutt and Jeff for a while, old 1920s Mutt and Jeffs. Because they were still funny. Two guys looking for a job and dates. Everybody can associate with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on, Pops. It was a good time.
You bet.
Don, it's great meeting you.
Thank you, Randy. Yeah, I've been talking to Anthony about what you guys are up to and distributing.
Oh, okay.
Distributing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Cool. Good.
So, anyways, I hope I see you guys again soon.
Yeah.
One more little thing right there below you, Don. Compliments of Randy and Barry and those guys over at Indie Volt. That's a 10% discount code on Gemini mailers.
At GeminiComicsSupply.com. You go and you place an order. On your way out, you use Volt 10, VOLT10. They'll cut you 10% off of your order.
Nice. Thank you very much. Awesome.
That's how we do it. Like I said,
awesome,
it's a symbiotic relationship. Everybody's got to work together, man.
Yep.
You know.
All right.
We'll get it all done. I got to do this all day tomorrow and all day Sunday.
You got to save your voice, man.
And all afternoon Monday. So, Will, thanks for being out, hanging out with us, bro. Always appreciate your backup. You know what I'm saying. And
I'm packing up the Revolt book right now to go out. I put out a long box of packages today. I'll do another one tomorrow morning. All ready to go. So one more after that, it should be done. Huh?
Is that the one coming to my house? That one you just held up?
Yeah, that one. Look at that. Look at how thick
that's the one coming to my house?
Yep.
All right. Cool. I like it.
Nice and fun. It's a flip book.
Cool.
Yeah.
70 pages in both directions. Yeah. Filled with black and white short story goodness. Yeah.
Cool stuff. Totally looking forward to getting that. And Randy, you'll have to come on with me to do an unboxing of that too.
Sure. Love it. Yeah.
Love doing those unboxings.
That'll be fun.
Oh, y'all have a great night, great weekend. For those of you that I don't see till afterwards, y'all have a great night. Don, it's always good to see you. Randy, it's always good to see you.
Thanks for having us on, Pop.
Sleep.
All right.
You bet, man.
I gotta get some sleep so I can go to Peter's auction tomorrow.
There you go.
They ain't coming out here to see me, y'all. They ain't coming out here to see me. So,
All right, guys. Peace out.
All right,
take care, Donnie.
Good night. I gotta play my commercials.
See you.
Hello, my name is Dirk Hooper. I'm a comic artist and illustrator looking for work right now. I've been doing art professionally for well over 2 decades, and my art has been in 3 comics, several art books, novels, and magazines. And I've had work in galleries in the Netherlands, England, Belgium, China, and all over the United States. I offer comic-style illustrations, sequential art, and digital paintings on a wide variety of genres, including sci-fi, fantasy, gritty, noir stuff, and bad girls. You can find more about me and my work at Ring King Studios. Contact me today to commission your custom artwork. Thank you.
Gotta have my pops.
Author Cindy Kep is writing on the edge. Books include Remnant in the Stars, The Loudest Actions, Lines of Succession, Mindstorm, Condemned Courier, the Yerushalayim series, and Animal Eye. Find author Cindy Kep at CKOEPP.com today.
CRoM